Welcome to This Explainer. Look, if you're a business leader right now, I bet you know this feeling all too well. You are absolutely drowning in enterprise data, but kind of starving for actual actionable decisions, right? You've got endless dashboards, countless pipelines, massive data warehouses, but when it actually comes time to figure out exactly what to do next to save money or, say, fix a production line, you're pretty much left to figure it out on your own. So today, we're going to explore a framework that fundamentally solves this problem by moving way beyond simple data visualization.
So, let's kick things off with a mantra that's going to anchor our whole exploration today. Data provides the facts, logic creates the decision. This right here is the core philosophy behind Datatism and the Mother Duck architecture we're unpacking. Because think about it. Data by itself is just reality. It's just a snapshot of what's happening. But it takes embedded business logic to actually evaluate those facts and tell us what to do about them.
Which brings us to a huge question. Why in the world are we still forcing every complex business requirement into generic, passive dashboards? I mean, think about your own operations for a second. When you rely solely on passive reporting tools, you are creating massive bottlenecks. You have actual human beings staring at raw metrics, trying to mentally calculate the risk of trapped capital or a delayed supply chain shipment. It's slow, it's prone to error, and honestly, it just leaves vast amounts of value on the table.
Section 1. Enter the Logic app. Bridging the gap.
Okay, notice the stark contrast we have here. On one side, you've got your traditional, generic data dashboards. They're completely passive, just showing you raw metrics and then basically stopping, forcing you into manual human interpretation. On the other side, you have active logic apps. These actively simulate different business scenarios, generate actionable recommendations, and, this is absolutely crucial, they capture the decisions that are made so the system can actually learn. It is a completely different paradigm.
Before we jump into real-world examples, let's make sure we're on the same page. What exactly is a logic app? Well, it's an application that weaves together data, business rules, calculations, decisions, actions, controls, and outcomes into a reusable closed-loop system. So rather than building some massive, fragile ERP customization or relying on totally static spreadsheets, a logic app focuses purely on the most valuable layer of your business. That's the logic sitting right there between your raw data and your final outcomes.
Section 2. Finance. Cash flow logic.
To make this super concrete, let's look at how this architecture transforms a finance department from a team that just reactively reports on the past to one that proactively orchestrates the future. Look at the inputs required to make this happen. A cash flow logic app doesn't just look at a static bank statement. It continuously ingests a massive, interconnected variety of operational data. We're talking SAP open accounts receivable and payable invoices, live bank balances across multiple currencies, outstanding purchase commitments, and even historical data on how fast certain customers usually pay. It pulls all of this straight into Mother Duck to determine your true real-time liquidity.
And this brilliantly illustrates what happens next. This is a finance decision cockpit. Pay special attention to the recommended actions here. The logic app isn't just saying, hey, here's your cash position. It detects an issue and literally says, rebalance excess US dollars to mitigate an incoming euro overdraft. Or it looks at your payment schedule and actively proposes, delay these specific low-priority invoices by 5 days. It transforms those raw inputs into highly specific operational directives.
Let's put a number on this. Think about the tangible impact of these active recommendations. Imagine a payment optimization engine evaluating your supplier invoices and dynamically simulating early payment discounts versus short-term borrowing costs. The app doesn't just show you a list of invoices. It literally generates a recommendation to capture an automatic $18,400 in specific early payment discounts that you would have otherwise completely missed. That is real money.
Or, how about this working capital metric, 3.2 days? By actively prioritizing the collections work list based on risk scores, the logic app can explicitly target accounts receivable reductions in a specific market. It aims to compress your days sales outstanding, or DSO, by exactly 3.2 days. This is exactly how embedded logic directly frees up trapped capital.
Section 3. Manufacturing Production Flow Logic.
All right, pivoting from the finance department directly to the shop floor. We all know manufacturing is chaotic, right? Which is exactly why an intelligent core is so critical. Here we see how the architecture handles physical constraints. This app integrates data from manufacturing execution systems, ERPs, and IoT streams. Powered by DuckDB's analytical engine directly inside Mother Duck, it evaluates line capacity, calculates work center utilization, and detects component shortages long before a production order is ever released. It is constantly looking ahead to predict schedule risks.
So imagine how this plays out in reality. Let's say a sudden 3.4% spike in scrap materials is detected on production line 3 via your IoT machine sensors. Now, a generic dashboard, it would just turn a chart red and wait for a manager to happen to notice it. But the Logic app immediately flags the anomaly, evaluates the risk, and generates a directive to pause Operation 20 and recalibrate the tooling. It acts instantly to stop the bleeding. Just like we saw in finance, the output here is a manufacturing cockpit built entirely around action. Take a look at the capacity recommendations. If the system detects a 28% overload on Workcenter 4, it doesn't just report the bottleneck. It actively recommends shifting specific jobs to the backup line, Workcenter 9. Or, if a critical material is missing, it specifically identifies purchase order 8841 as the one that needs to be expedited to avoid a total shutdown. It resolves constraints through dynamic resequencing, right?
Section 4. The closed-loop lifecycle.
Zooming out from those specific use cases really reveals the underlying repeatable architecture that powers all MotherDuck Logic apps. And we're going to return to our core mantra here because it is absolutely vital to understand. Data provides the facts, logic creates the decision. The true magic of this entire framework lies securely in the business logic that sits between your raw data and your final operational outcome.
This all happens through a really powerful 6-step blueprint. First up, the system observes, ingesting those real-time data streams. Second, it detects conditions and anomalies. Third, it evaluates by executing your specific business rules. Fourth, it actively simulates alternative paths and models different scenarios. Fifth, it recommends a targeted directive and captures that final decision. And finally, number 6, it measures the post-decision impact on your actual business metrics. It's a true closed-loop engine.
Now, here is a really critical point. This system does not remove humans from the equation. Actually, it keeps them perfectly in the loop. That capture phase we just talked about means that user acceptances, adjustments, and overrides are continuously logged into persistent audit tables back in MotherDuck. Basically, your human expertise is captured to continually refine and improve the decision-making engine over time.
Which brings us to a final, pretty provocative thought for you to take away from this explainer today. I want you to take a hard look at the data tools you use every single day and ask yourself, are your dashboards just passively showing you facts, or are they actively helping you make decisions? If you're still relying entirely on manual interpretation to run your enterprise, well, it might just be time to bridge the gap with a Logic app.